Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. So you want to buy a drone, right? That's why you clicked on this video. Now, if you don't have a lot of money, please go watch my video entitled Drones for $299 or less. I have multiple videos on that, and you'll find all sorts of drones that are $299 US or less. If you have, well, a bit of money, then this is the video for you, because in this video, I'm going to cover the best drones for $999 US all the way down to maybe about $300 US. Now, when I say best drones, like 10 best drones, I mean the 10 best drones in my opinion, because I fly every consumer camera drone on the market, as well as all the professional drones that cost in the thousands and thousands of dollars. And because of that, I have a good idea of which ones are really good for the average consumer. In other words, which ones would you feel that you got your money's worth, for what you received? And the very first thing that's going to make you feel like you got your money's worth is that when you review the footage, the video or the photos from this camera drone that I'm going to recommend, you're going to go, wow, that's pretty outstanding. So all of these drones I'm going to show you have really outstanding cameras. As a matter of fact, let me tell you a few more things that you should take note of before I show you the video. So I'll hop over here, because over here I am going to stick everything that you should take note of in this video. So here we go. I have a little list over here. So I already mentioned that all of these drones will have outstanding cameras. Number two, all of the drones I'm about to show you come with a controller, something you put your thumbs on so you can move the drone around in the air. Some of the controllers have a display, but the display is only for telemetry, not the image coming back. For that, you will need a cell phone and tablet to see what the drone sees, what you're taking a photo of, what you're taking video of, how to interface with the drone. So remember that. You got to have a cell phone or tablet to fly these drones. All of the drones I'm going to show you record at 4K 30 frames per second or higher. Some can even record lower, but 4K 30 frames is the standard, and that is a very good resolution for drones. In addition, all of them will take photos at 12 megapixels or higher. 12 megapixels is a really good resolution for camera drones. And some can even take photos in DNG RAW. Now, if you're a beginner, that means nothing to you. But if you're kind of a pro, DNG RAW means that you can manipulate the photo yourself. Some of the drones I'm going to show you have a follow me feature. So in other words, you can walk around, ride your bike, go hiking, and the drone will follow you. In addition, some of the drones I'm going to show you have obstacle detection. That means that when you're flying, if you're flying around and a tree's in the way or a building or something, they will stop and not crash into it. Now, this video could easily be 10 hours long, because I'm showing you 10 drones and I could talk forever on each drone and tell you all the great things about it. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to list all the specs for each drone right here. And to speed it up, I'm only going to tell you 3 positive things about each drone I show you, as well as 2 niggly little things that I wish were better about the drone. Now, keep this in mind. I'm showing you what I consider to be the 10 best drones. So when I say there's 2 things about the drone I wish was better, it doesn't mean the drone's bad. It's still the 10 best drones. They're better than anything else on the market. It's just 2 little things that I wish were improved, because nothing is perfect when it comes to drones. I should also mention that I'm going to give you the price of each drone in US dollars, because US is an international currency. So you will see the prices on screen in US dollars. Keep in mind, those prices are as of now. So now is considered to be November, the year 2021. So if you're watching this video in the year 2023, in the month of April, these prices I show you are not going to apply. Finally, the last thing to tell you is that the links to every drone I show you is directly below this video. And when I say directly below this video, I mean you look below me, this human talking here, look below it. You might see a little down arrow that says show more. Click on that, and then you'll see all the descriptive information about the video, as well as the links to all the drones I show. All right, let's get on with it. All right, here we go with our first drone. Now, the first drone I'm going to show you is considered a mini drone. And I'm going to show you all the really good mini drones, the best mini drones, because I think if you don't own a mini drone, you need to own one. Now, if you're a beginner and you're buying your first drone, get a mini drone. If you're a pro and you've been flying drones for a long time and you don't own a mini drone, get a mini drone. Now, what is a mini drone? Well, in the shortest of terms, a mini drone is a drone that has the technology from the big drone squished down into a little drone in a weight category that is under 250 grams, because in most countries, drones under 250 grams do not have regulations of the bigger drones applied to them. In other words, in my country of Canada, if you buy a little mini drone of under 250 grams, you don't have to take a course, you don't need a certification, you don't need a pilot certificate, you don't need anything. You can just buy it, charge the batteries, and go fly it. The only rule our country has in Canada is don't be a goofball, don't annoy people, and don't fly near airports. But other than that, you can go fly this anywhere you want. Now, mini drones started to become pretty darn popular way back in 2019, and then slowly they were becoming more and more popular as the technology got better. Then in the year 2021, they started to explode. And in the year 2022, they are going to be massive. So mini drones they're all the rage. Some of the benefits of a mini drone are you get a really long flight time because it doesn't weigh very much, so it doesn't take a lot of power to power this device. So, you're always getting someplace around 30 minutes or longer with these little drones. You also get a very long flight range because they can fit a tiny little communication system in here that communicates with your radio, and you can get ranges like 10 kilometers on some of these drones. It's pretty amazing. The great thing as well is the batteries for these are the least expensive batteries on the planet compared to the bigger drones, because it doesn't take much to make a battery for a drone like this. So you can buy multiple batteries. But the one thing that always caused mini drones to be not as great as the bigger drones was the camera. However, that all changed in the year 2020 and the year 2021, and it's changing again in the year 2022. Technology, just like your cell phone, you can fit a really good camera in your cell phone, is in the mini drones. So the cameras are awesome on these things. All of them have sensors on the bottom, and they are all designed to fly indoors as well as outdoors. And because they're so tiny, indoors can be the smallest of spaces. They work really well for indoor flights. But the reason I love mini drones, well, it's not only because they're so portable. Man, I put this in a pocket and take it wherever I want. It's because they're so quiet. So when I want to go fly, and I know there's going to be humans around, this is the drone to have because it doesn't bother anybody. So this is the drone I take on vacation all the time. Well, not this one specifically, but mini drones are what I take on vacation. So I would think anybody going on vacation, you're going out hiking, you don't want to take a heavy drone with you, you're going boating, you're doing all sorts of activities, this is the drone for you. If you're in real estate, a really good drone because you can take pictures from the houses outdoors as well as indoors and not mark up the walls. And if you're a homeowner, roof inspection is one of the most popular things people use mini drones for, because if you fly this up to check your own roof, your neighbors will not think you're spying on them because they can't really hear it. It's very quiet and it does a good job of checking your roof. Now, all mini drones are foldable. So every mini drone that I'm going to show you is foldable, and I'm going to show you 4 of them, I believe. So the first one I'm showing you is the oldest of the bunch. This one's been around the longest. This is the DJI Mini 2. And I'm going to tell you 3 positive things about this and 3 negative things. The specs for the DJI Mini 2 are right here. So let me start off with the 3 positive. Positive number 1. This thing has OcuSync 2 in it. So OcuSync 2 is basically a communication system that is software based and a little bit hardware based, and it allows the drone and the radio to communicate even when there's obstacles between the radio and the drone. So say I'm standing here and the drone is over here, and between us would be a set of trees or buildings. It can still communicate. Very, very good. Positive number 2, this has a zoom control on it, and it is one of the smoothest zooms I've seen on a drone. It is a digital zoom, but it's very smooth. So when you zoom into something, it's just like zooming in with a camera. You do have to lower the resolution to get more zoom. So if you're in 4K, you're not going to get much zoom. But if you drop it down to 1080p, you can get 4 times zoom and zoom really close into something. Positive number 3, this is the only mini drone I'm going to show you that has precision return to home. So wherever you take off, zip, and then you hit the return to home button on your controller to bring it back to you, or say something happens, it goes into low battery or it's out of range, it's going to come back to you. You can't lose these drones. And when it comes back to you, if this is your landing pad, it's going to come down and land right on your landing pad. It has a really precise GPS system in it to land pretty much right back from where it took off. And now we get into the negatives. So negative number 1, This drone, as advanced as it is, has no sensors in it to detect obstacles. So if it's flying along and there's something right here, it will fly into it. And that means it will fly into it even on return to home. Boink, it will smash into things. Negative number 2 is that there's no tracking on this drone, and a lot of people want to buy these little drones so that they will follow them. So I can go out biking, running, hiking, everything else. This drone will just sit in the air and let you go biking, hiking, running, and won't follow you. There's no tracking on it, so that's negative number 2. So finally, if I haven't put the price on the screen, the price for this is $419 US. Go and check it out. The links are below. Let's go on to the next drone. Here we are with the next drone. This is the Fami X8 Mini. This drone is somewhat new. It came out in the year 2021. It is, once again, just like all the other ones, it's a foldable drone and it's under 250 grams. The price for this drone is $320 US. It's probably one of the more inexpensive mini drones on the market with a lot of features. And it does come in 2 colors. You get this color and sort of a reddish orange color, so you can pick which color you want. Positive number 1 about the Fami X8 Mini is that the camera up front can shoot raw photos. Not all the mini drones can shoot raw photos, and if you want to know which ones can or cannot, just check the specs up here each time I show it. This one can take raw photos. Positive number 2, and this is the one many of you are going to love, if you do go hiking or biking or jogging, this drone can track you. It will track you and follow you along if you're on your bike or whatever. However, there are no obstacle avoidance sensors, so if you drive or run by a tree, it will hit the tree. Third positive about this drone, and this is the one many of you will like, is the controller is different than any of the other controllers I'm going to show you. Watch this. Plink! It is so designed to fit an iPad mini. So many of you want to fly with a tablet, an iPad mini fits in there, or a big cell phone. And now my 2 nigglies about this drone. The first one is if you'd like to hover the drone, like many of us do, just hover it in the air and then film something. Well, it tends to move from side to side, I find. It doesn't sit perfectly still. It does have sensors on the bottom. However, it does dance around in the air a little bit. If you're moving forward, you don't have that problem, but as soon as you stop and stand still, it moves around. So that's niggly negative number 1. And now niggly number 2, and that is when you go to buy this drone, you have an option of 2 different types of batteries. The cheaper version of the drone, which is the price I'm showing here, comes with a battery that will place this drone over 250 grams. So if you don't care about the weight, get it with the cheaper battery. You'll get the same performance. However, if you want this drone to be under 250 grams, you have to buy the Pro battery. This is the Pro battery here. It costs a little more, it raises the price, but it keeps the drone at 249 grams. So that's niggly negative number 2. So with all that said, the price is listed here. $320 US is basically the price of this drone. So it's a good price. Go check it out. Links are below. All right, now we've come to a very expensive mini drone, and this drone is expensive because it has everything you want. This is the Hubsan Zino Mini Pro. So it's foldable just like the other drones, and now you're wondering, why does it cost so much? So the price, if I look over here for the Hubsan Zino Mini Pro, is currently $476 US. However, for that price, you get more than any other drone on the market currently. So let me tell you the 3 positives about this drone. Positive number 1, it has sensors in the front, sensors in the rear, sensors on the bottom to detect obstacles. It will not crash into obstacles if those sensors detect it. Obviously, if you're flying up, there's no sensors on the top. Bonk, it's going to bang into something. And if you fly sideways, there's no sensors on the side. It will crash into something. However, since it does have tracking on this to follow you no matter where you wish to go, those sensors come into play. So if you're riding your bike or running and this drone is following you and then there's a tree between you and the drone, then instead of the drone crashing into it while it's following you, it will not crash. Positive number 2 is if I take off the bottom, you can see there's an LED landing light right here. That LED landing light is amazing. You would not believe how important that is on a mini drone because there's a tiny little camera in here called optical flow, which is on many of the mini drones to keep the drone stable in the air. But at night, none of the sensors work on any drones. None of them. They're all useless to fly at night. However, this drone has that light so it can keep itself stable in the air at night, or if you fly it indoors and there's not a lot of light in the house, in the room, that light will come on and keep it stable. That's Positive number 2. Positive number 3. This is the only mini drone currently that has a massive sensor in the camera. It has a 48 megapixel sensor inside, which is very large for something so small. The aperture in this is 1.8. Most of the drones are like 2.8 or something like that. That means it's wide open. So on a tiny little camera drone like this, having an aperture of 1.8 means you're going to see more detail in the shadows. All right, so it sounds pretty great, right? So let's go to niggly negative number 1. These drones by Hubsan do not take a micro SD card, to store your photos and videos. That's because when you buy the drone, for the price of the drone, they stuck the memory inside. So it comes with 64 gigs of built-in memory. You never have to buy a micro SD card, or it comes with 128 gigs of memory. So that means you can film for a long time. Everything stays on the drone. You plug your little phone in the back if you want, or you plug right in the back into your computer, and then you take the images off and they come off really quick. A lot of people do not like having memory built in. Myself personally, I like having memory built in because it's a new thing and this is the wave of the future. But there's a lot of people out there, old school, who rather have the micro SD card so that they can film something, take off the micro SD card, and then go film something else. This here, if you film something and you don't take the pictures out and you keep on flying it, and next thing you know, you lose it, well, you lost all your photos. Finally, niggly little negative number 2 is that this drone has a super powerful video transmission system in the back. It is so powerful that it generates a lot of heat. So in other words, the video transmission system in conjunction with the sensors up front and everything else running the LED landing light uses a lot of power, right? However, you saw below that the flight time is pretty darn good. But using all that power generates heat, this thing gets hot. So when it's sitting on the ground, it has no cooling effect. The props aren't moving. So because of that, niggly negative number 2 is that they turn the video feed off when you're on the ground. In other words, when you power this on, there is no video feed from the camera. You have to take off, and as soon as it gets maybe about 6 inches off the ground, the video feed then shows up on your phone, and then you can see all the information that the camera is seeing, and that's basically it. A lot of us like to see the video feed on the ground, so that's my niggly little negative number 2. So with all that said, this Hubsan Zino Mini Pro is $476 US. It is darn good. Now let me show you one that is almost as good as this at a lower price. Ho-ho, everything changed to white. Well, this is the Hubsan Zino Mini SE version of the Pro version. Yeah, so it's a standard edition version of the Pro version. In other words, it has a lot of the features of the Pro version, but it's missing a few of the ones not so many people would use that often, so the price is less, but it's a really good mini drone. So let me tell you positive number 1 about this drone. It flies for 45 minutes. You probably saw that below when I listed it. It has a 45-minute flight time on the included battery, and it takes the same batteries as the Pro version, so you can buy either battery no matter what the cost is. Now this is not a positive, but I'll mention it as well. It even has the same controller design, so you get the display in it for telemetry, everything else. Positive number 2 is that it has tracking. It can follow you. It follows you just by drawing a little box around yourself, go for your hike, walk, or run. It follows you really well. Or if you're in the woods, it has GPS tracking. Like some of the other drones that have tracking, GPS tracking just means you don't draw a box around yourself. It will follow the GPS in your phone. So that means if you have a lot of trees on top of you, you can fly this really high up in the air, go for a run through the woods, and it will just keep on following you as you're underneath the trees below. It's really good for that. Oh, I just looked at my chart, and positive number 3 was the GPS tracking. So positive number 1 was the flight time. Positive number 2 was the active track, where you draw a box around yourself or something else and it follows it. And positive number 3 was the GPS tracking. I should also mention that any drone I've shown you already that has tracking, where you draw a box around, they also have GPS tracking. So this has it as well. Now, the only niggly negatives I have about this one, not that many actually. The first one is that in a drone like this, you would think it would have raw photos. Nope, you can only take photos, but there's no DNG raw in the photos. Niggly negative number 2 is that it does have a zoom, just like a lot of drones out there. But so far, out of all the mini drones with zoom, the DJI Mini 2 has the best zoom in my opinion. These drones do have zooms, but they're kind of like staccato, like you zoom and then you zoom and then you zoom. It's not smooth, one big thing. So that's a niggly negative. You still have a zoom on here, but I had to pick two negatives, so those are the two negatives. And the price, which has probably been listed someplace around here, is $355 US, which is a darn good price for a drone like this. This would probably be my top pick for mini drones currently. This is a really good one. All right, the next drone is a mini drone. It's not this one, but there's a reason this one's sitting here. The next drone is a mini drone, and it's made by this company called Autel. It's coming out very soon, and you can pre-order it now, so I have the links below for the pre-order. I think it's going to be a hot drone on the market, and it's going to be one many of you are going to want to buy if you have the finances for it, because it is a little pricey. So the drone is called the Autel Evo Nano, and there's another one that's a little bit better called the Autel Evo Nano Plus. So what's the difference between those two drones? It's just the camera. The Plus model has a better camera and better electronics inside for the camera than the Nano. So if you're a true photographer, you're going to get the Nano Plus, and if you're someone who just likes to film with like all these other mini drones I showed you, you'll get just the Nano. Looking at my chart, the price to pre-order the Nano is $653 US, and if you want the Plus version, it is a whopping $805 US, and they do come in 4 colors. You have black, red, white, and orange. Now the specs for the Evo Nano and Nano Plus are up here, so check out the specs. They're all listed there. Let me tell you my 3 positives and 2 negatives about these drones. All right. Positive number 1, the Nano Plus drone will be designed more for photographers. So in that tiny little package, you're going to get a photography drone. In other words, the sensor on it is going to be designed to have the technology along with a really good aperture and lens to show you true colors that are coming through. So I'm looking forward to that, and that means a lot more dynamic range, better low light filming. So that's a plus on that one. Positive number 2, both Nanos, the Nano and the Nano Plus, have the avoidance system, you know, sensors in the front, the bottom, the back. So you have all that great stuff, and they do have the tracking feature on them, so you can track things with the avoidance, which is something many of us want. Positive number 3, they've built in near field communication, I believe, to both drones, the Nano and the Nano Plus, so that you take your cell phone and you just stick it on top with the app running or whatever, and the videos and the photos will transfer super fast from the drone to your phone, and everything will then be on your phone. So if you're out in the field and you don't have a computer nearby to transfer stuff off the micro SD card, you can get it that way. All right, niggly negative number 1 with those new drones. Well, did you see the controller? The controller does not look very professional. I don't know, they got this goofy looking controller in my opinion. There's no display on it for telemetry. When you're spending $600 and $800 US, I would like to have a little telemetry display in my controllers. I always complain about DJI drones that they don't add it. So I got to complain that the Autel Evo drones, Nanos, don't even add it. And of course, niggly negative number 2, check out the flight time. That is going to be a turnoff factor for many potential buyers considering the price, $600 and $800 US, and you're only getting around 28 minutes flight time, because we all know if a company says, hey, my drone will give you 30 minutes flight time, in reality, you're probably getting 25 minutes flight time. So if a company says you're getting like 28 minutes flight time, you're probably getting like just over 20 minutes flight time. But I won't know everything for sure until they come on the market and I have 1 or 2 and try them out and see how cool they are. And with all that said, I have put the links below so that you can go and pre-order one if you would like one. I know I'll have one for review in the future. All right, let's go on to the next drone. All right, so for the next drone, you'll notice that I still have the Autel Evo II 8K sitting here. Why do I have it sitting here? That's because I want to tell you right now, you can buy the Autel Evo II 8K for under $999 US currently. While supplies last, they are selling all the refurbished models. Now, if you don't know what a refurbished drone is, a refurbished drone is usually a drone that a manufacturer has returned back to Autel, or Autel has used the drones out in their displays when they go on tours and they show them off. They may have been flown, they may not have been flown. So what Autel does is it refurbishes them to bring them up to like new standard, and you get a really good drone at a low price. So if I look over at my chart here, this is currently on sale for $989 US. So you get the drone, you get the battery, and you get the controller. And if you don't know anything about the Autel Evo 8K, well, it's a massive drone. It has 360-degree obstacle avoidance. It is massively advanced. 8K is a super, super high resolution. Most people are still in 4K, if even that. So 8K, you're like, whew, you're jumping way up there. So if you get this drone, you're getting a very professional drone. If you want to jump up in the professional line, this is it. So let me tell you my 3 positives. I have to look at my little thing over here. Positive number 1, 8K camera, I already mentioned that. Positive number 2, it has 360 obstacle avoidance. I already mentioned that, so you're not going to crash this thing. Positive number 3, with that 360 obstacle avoidance, it has very modern, enhanced tracking system. So if it wants to track you when you're riding a bike or running, it's very fast to move around trees and still keep tracking you and not losing you. It's a very good tracking system on the Autel Evo drones. Negative number 1, looking at my chart, it is big. It's a big drone. So a lot of people, they don't like big drones because they are loud, noisy. This one's not too bad, but it is big and it can be scary if you're a newbie. And niggly negative number 2 is that most of you out there watching this don't even have a computer that displays 8K. All laptops, all computers that you buy for your home that cost you less than $2,000 probably have a display on them of maybe 2K display. That's all you've got at the most. If you have a laptop, you might have 1080p. If you have a cell phone, you might have 1080p on your cell phone or 720. You'll never see the 8K resolution. So that's negative number 2. So that's why this drone was designed for professionals. So if you're a professional, you have powerful editing system and you can take advantage of 8K resolution, pick this one up. It's a steal of a deal to get the refurbished model, and they're not going to last long. All right, let's go on to the next drone. All right, this next drone is another drone that may not be available in your country at the moment, but it soon will be. You can already buy it, and in some countries it's already available. I have a pre-release version, and I do have a review coming up of it. This is the Fimi X8 SE 2022. It's new on the market, and it's not very expensive, and it has a ton of features, and I'll tell you why I've included it here, because the specs are up here. But let me tell you what is different between this drone and the previous model. The previous model was the Fimi X8 SE 2020, and this is the 2022 model. So when you're looking at them, you want to get the 2022 model. So let me tell you the differences between the two, what they did. This one now has a flight time of 35 minutes and it has a range of 10 kilometers, which is 6 miles. That's the increase. You can now fly this in much higher level winds, up to wind resistance level 8. It no longer uses the 5 gigahertz frequency. It uses the 2 gigahertz frequency for long range. That's how they get the distance to 6 miles. This is the reason many of you will buy it. They have made this drone able to fly in the rain and in the snow. It actually says it on the website. So basically what they've done is they've sealed in everything around the area so that rainwater will not get in. And you can fly this on wet, rainy days if you want. They also have made it ready for remote ID, what's coming to the USA. So those of you who are worried about remote ID, this is remote ID capable. And their camera up front, which I always found their camera wasn't bad. They've now increased the aperture to 1.6. So that means it's really good for low light. So much better camera on the front. Now the remainder of the specs are right here. So let me give you my 3 positives about this baby. This is the remote that comes with it. However, there is another remote that you can get that has a display in it. So you can buy separately a remote with a display in it so you don't have to use your cell phone or tablet. So that's pretty decent. That's a positive for some people that don't want to use their phone or tablet. I'll put a picture of what that looks like on the screen. You probably saw it already. Positive number 2, it's remote ID ready for people in the USA. And positive number 3, I'm smiling because I'm just repeating myself, is that you can fly it in the rain and the snow. I like that. Negative number 1, I was about to put up 2 there. Negative number 1, this drone with all those cool features on it, there's no sensors for avoidance. Up front, it always looks like you got some sensors for avoidance. There's nothing. They didn't put anything in it. And negative number 2, even though I said positive number 3 is you can fly it in the rain and the snow, negative number 2 is that this controller, there's no mention of it anywhere in the documentation that I saw that you can use this in the rain or the snow. But I will say it is one of those controllers that you can put an iPad mini in because it does stretch out like that. So that's pretty decent. Total price, if I haven't mentioned it, is $450 US, which is it's a bargain for all the features you get. So I will put links to that below. Go check it out. All right, right, the next drone to show you is this mess of pieces of drone sitting here. This is the Powervision Poweregg X, and it's a pretty darn decent drone. So the price for this, if I look over on my chart, is currently $809 US. So the neat thing about this drone is that you get this little egg, and the egg turns into a drone by attaching all the legs. I'll do it for you in a second. Or you can use it as a handheld video camera, or you can put it down on a stand, and it has a tracking system where the camera gimbal turns and it will film you. So if you're doing vlogging or you're at some event and you want to put the camera down, not to fly it as a drone, it will work perfectly for that. It's the only drone on the market that has that ability, and it's also waterproof. So you can fly it in the rain or the water. You put this little shell on it and you go out in the water. It's got these little pontoons underneath the legs, and it can take off and land in water. I have lots of reviews on this thing. So there we go. I just put the legs on it, and it's pretty simple. You do that. You have little things that pop out, and then your drone is all set to go. And even your controller here is kind of semi-waterproof, so you can fly out in the rain with all this stuff. It's pretty decent. So let me give you my 3 positives on this baby. First, positive number 1 is that the camera records at 4K 60 frames per second. That's pretty darn high, which is pretty good. Positive number 2, you can fly in all weather conditions. You have to get this little bubble that goes on it to fly in all weather conditions. If you don't have this, and you're going to get certain components in the drone wet, and they may not work perfectly in the future. Positive number 3, as I mentioned, you can take the legs off, and it can be handheld camera to go around like a video camera, or put it on a tripod and it will film you, because this little gimbal up front will move from left to right and track you. I've got lots of reviews on it doing that, and it does it really well. Negative number 1 for me, I have tried it many times. When I put the bubble on over top and I fly it in the rain, drone itself generates heat, and it has little vents on the bottom to get the heat out, but I always get some fogging happening. So your image out front with the camera, if you're looking one way, it might be perfect, and then you go to look down or to the side, and there might be fog in those areas. So that's negative number 1. And then you got fog on the screen, so you might not get the best of images. And what's my negative number 2? Oh yeah, one thing I found with this is if you film in 4K 60 or 4K 30, the video looks outstanding. It's really good. But if you drop the resolutions down to like 2.7 or 1080, things like that, or you go into slow motion, which you can do on a lot of drones, it doesn't look as good. Looks okay, but it doesn't look as good as you would think. But then again, it's a drone that only costs $809 US, and it's the only drone on the market that is a video camera, it's a vlogging camera, it's a drone for when you want, it's an all-weather drone, and it's a land and takeoff in the water drone if you're a boater. So it's the only one that does everything. So I'm going to put links below to that one. Go check it out. All right, we're almost done. The second last drone I want to show you is the Skydio II. Now this one's always in my top picks because there's nothing else on the market like it. This is a drone that was designed from the ground up to be a follow me obstacle avoidance drone. So there was a demand for a long time for people that wanted to go mountain biking, up and down hills, skiing, doing all running, jogging, all sorts of things. And they wanted a drone to follow them that could avoid objects, you know, no matter how fast they were going. There was nothing on the market that could do it. So Skydio was the company that came out with a drone that could do that. And to this day, it is the best drone at following somebody at high speeds and avoiding things all over the place. It is so awesome for that. But that's its best feature. And because of that, features less than that, they're not as good. So I've got all the specs up here, and I'm going to tell you all about this. Let me just look at the price here. It's on for a pretty good price right now, $949 US. When this first came to market, it was $999 US. And then it went up in price because the demand was so high, and they can only make so many a year. And now they're starting to work on the Skydio III. So these ones here will be sold off. The Skydio III is going to be very expensive. So you can get this one at a good price right now. So let me just check down here and tell you my 3 positives. So positive number 1, I already mentioned it. Best tracking drone on the market, nothing better. I don't think we'll see anything better than this, even in the year 2022. It is so good. It does record at 4K 60 frames per second if you want, and the video quality off it is not that bad. It's pretty good. And what else do I have? Oh yeah, positive number 3, it's very simple to use. This is the only drone that I'm showing you that does not come with a controller. Nope, there is no controller with this. You have to use your phone. So that means the range is very short. It's just designed that you pull out your phone and you say, track me, and you have it track you from whichever angle you want. That's it. So for that price that I told you, that's all you're getting is this, the battery, a little case, and you have to use your phone. That's it. If you want to buy other things like a controller, you can buy the controller so you can fly it like a normal drone, but I will say this controller sucks. It's not very good. The range is very limiting, and this drone, you cannot turn the sensors off, so it doesn't fly like a DJI camera drone to do cinematic footage. It's an obstacle avoidance drone. So let me go through all my other little things. I said the 4K 60 for positive number 2, and I said positive number 3. It's very simple with your phone. Now let's go for the negatives. I probably mentioned them already. So negative number 1, there's no controller included. I knew I mentioned it already. Yeah, no controller included, and the one that you can buy is terrible. That's all you can use. And negative number 2 is that, I already mentioned it. You can't, negative number 2, you can't turn the sensors off. So you cannot fly it with the sensors turned off and fly it like a real drone. They're always on, and because they're always on, they're smarter than you. So if I'm flying here and there's an object, I can't get really close to that object. It's very difficult to do. It's always going to want to move, and I'm going to have to fight it to get it close to stuff. It just doesn't do stuff. But for flying this as a drone that tracks you no matter where you go, and using an option like the beacon, my God, there is nothing else on the planet like it. It is so good. I love this. This is so incredible. It's the only drone that fits a certain purpose. So it's good. And I somehow turned on the power talking, because now it's coming to life. It might probably heard me. Go to sleep. Sleep. Well, fix that the simple way. Boink. All right, so I'm going to put the links below to the Skydio II. It is $949 US. And go check it out if you're looking for a follow me, active track, obstacle avoidance drone. That's the best of everything. All right, on to the last one. All right, last drone that I highly recommend for under $999. Well, I think this one is $999 exactly. This is the DJI Air II. It is a really, really good drone. So for price, the DJI Air II is about $999 US. If it's less than that, you'll see it's probably sitting someplace around here, the price. So what are my 3 positives about this drone? Well, let me tell you positive number 1. I have to look at my chart, and that is the camera. There's a 1-inch sensor in here, but a lot of drones on the market have a 1-inch sensor, except this one here, they sort of broke the mold on this one. I've always found the camera on the Air II to be really, really good compared to other cameras on the market. You may not notice all the quality with it, but you can't go wrong. Even if you're very bad at filming, this camera makes everything look good. And with that sensor in there and the 20 megapixels it has, it can shoot 5K video, and it can shoot at 4K 60 frames per second. Oh, let me also add the zoom. It's got that DJI zoom control that I was bragging about with the Mini 2, the DJI Mini 2, where I said the zoom was really good. This has it as well, but it's even better since it can shoot all the way up to 5K. So when you put it at 4K or less, 2.7K or 1080p, you have a really nice zoom, and it's so smooth. And it's very sharp, very good at active track. So if it's following you directly from behind, it's really good. It will avoid objects. It doesn't avoid objects if you put the drone to your side. So if I'm going this way and I want the drone to follow me on the side, it will crash into everything. The only time it's any good is if it's directly behind you. And positive number 3, as I look at my chart, it is a small form factor. So my 2 negatives about this, the first one would be that it's a typical DJI controller. They don't put any display in it, no telemetry, so unfortunately, DJI cuts costs. Like, they have such a high profit margin, so if you buy a $1,000 drone from them, you're guaranteed that $800 of that $1,000 is going to them for profit, and their drone is only $200 because they mass produce them. So they have to cut costs everywhere, so their controllers are always very basic, nothing inside. So that's a negative. That's typical of DJI. And as well, the other negative I have is that with the sensors on here, it would have been nice for side sensors, but that probably would have raised the price because this drone is so good, it just lacks the side sensors for obstacle avoidance when it's flying, tracking you, or doing anything else. So go check it out. Links are below. It's showing on my chart that it's $999 US. It might be less than that, so if it is, I'll have the correct price pointing around here someplace. Alright, so that brings me to the end of this video, and I have to say the following. It was very difficult to pick 10 of the best drones because the price range from $300 US up to $999 is vast. There's a lot of drones in there, and I have pretty much all of them. Well, I think I have all of them. Yeah, I don't think there's anything I'm missing. So trying to pick 10 out of that was difficult. I started by trying to pick 5 out of all that. Impossible. So if you buy any of the drones I showed in this entire video segment, you'll be happy. I mean, you'll be very pleased with any of those drones. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions on any of the drones I showed, please rewatch the video first because the specs are all here. I do have full reviews on pretty much all of those drones, except for the ones that aren't on the market yet. So go check them out. And as a final thought, a lot of you are going to say, hey, but what about the DJI Mini 3? Well, the DJI Mini 3 has not yet been announced, so there are no specs on the DJI Mini 3. So I couldn't mention it. You can't pre-order it or anything at the time of this video. So if you're watching this video and the Mini 3 is out on the market, it's probably a good drone to get because obviously DJI will take the Mini 3, will look at what Autel has put out and try to make something comparable. The only thing you'll find different is that DJI may not be able to beat Autel's price with the features to price because DJI is a very expensive company. All their products are way inflated in price. So the Mini 3 is probably quite expensive since the Autel is like 800 bucks. The Mini 3 is probably going to be 900 bucks or higher. So yeah, expect a high expensive price on the Mini 3 from DJI, but it will be a good drone. I can tell you that without even seeing it because it's a DJI product. All right, guys, so enough from my talking head. Now go buy yourself a drone. All right, catch you in the next video. Bye.